Welcome to Apostle Animations, where we cover the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation, in order. If you're new here, start from the beginning, and if you're back, welcome home. Let's get into it. The flood is over. The waters have receded. The rainbow has been placed in the sky. God has made his covenant. Noah has stepped onto new ground. The world is beginning again. And for a while, it is good. The sons of Noah spread across the earth. Families become clans. Clans become peoples. The earth begins to fill, just as God commanded. But something is coming. Something that will look on the surface like progress, like ambition, like unity, like the best of what humanity can do, when it works together. And God will scatter it to the four winds. Genesis 11:1. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. One language. Every person on earth speaking the same words, thinking in the same sounds, using the same tongue to name the world around them. We cannot fully appreciate what that means from where we stand. In a world of thousands of languages, where translation is an entire industry and miscommunication is constant. But in the beginning after the flood, there was one language. Communication was perfect. Coordination was seamless. When one man had an idea, every other man could understand it immediately, completely, without distortion. This was an extraordinary gift. God had wired human beings for language, for the naming of things, for the speaking of truth, for the worship of their Creator. And here, in the early world after the flood, that capacity was unified across the entire human race. The question was what they would do with it. Genesis 11:2. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. They journeyed from the east and found a plain. Shinar, ancient Mesopotamia, the region that would one day become Babylon. And they stopped. This detail matters more than it might seem. God's original command to Noah, the same command he gave Adam, was to be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. Not settle, not cluster, not build a city and stay, fill the earth. But they found a good plain, and they stopped moving. Comfort has a way of doing that. A pleasant place, fertile ground, room enough for everyone. And suddenly, the command to fill the earth becomes less urgent than the comfort of staying put. Genesis 11:3-4. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." Listen to what they are saying. Listen carefully, because this speech reveals everything. Let us build ourselves a city. Let us build a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over the face of the whole earth. 4 statements, 4 problems. First, let us build ourselves, not for God, not to honor the one who saved them through the flood, who made the covenant, who placed the rainbow in the sky, for themselves. The project is entirely self-directed. Second, a tower whose top is in the heavens. They want to reach the place where God is, not through worship, not through obedience, not through the relationship God had offered, through construction, through engineering, through brick and mortar and human effort piled high enough. Third, let us make a name for ourselves. This is the heart of it. Making a name for yourself is the ancient way of saying, I want to be remembered. I want significance. I want what I build to outlast me. There is nothing wrong with wanting your life to matter. The problem is where they are looking for that significance, not in the name of God, in their own name, not in the story God is telling, in the story they are building for themselves. Fourth, lest we be scattered. They know what God said, fill the earth, and they are explicitly building to resist it. This is not innocent ambition. This is organized defiance, a united human race deciding together that they will not do what God told them to do. This is the same pattern we have seen before. In the garden, the serpent told Eve she could be like God. She reached for what was not hers to take. Here, the entire human race is reaching. No serpent this time. No outside tempter. Just humanity. Speaking with one voice, deciding together to make themselves great. The tower is not the sin. The tower is the symbol of the sin. The real sin is in the 4 words. Let us make a name. The refusal to receive significance from God and the decision to manufacture it themselves. And they had the tools to do it. One language, perfect communication, unified purpose, an entire civilization organized around a single goal. Genesis 11:5. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. But the Lord came down. There is something almost poetic about this. They were building a tower to reach the heavens, and God had to come down to even see it. The tower that was supposed to pierce the sky was so small from God's perspective that he had to descend to get a proper look. This is not cruelty. This is proportion. The scripture is showing us the true scale of what humanity thought was their greatest achievement. A tower reaching toward heaven, and heaven had to lean down to notice it. Every monument man has ever built to his own greatness looks the same way from where God stands. Genesis 11:6. And the Lord said, indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. God is not threatened. He is not afraid. He is making an observation about the nature of unified human capability. One people, one language, one purpose. Nothing they propose will be withheld from them. This is remarkable. God is essentially saying, if we let this continue, there's no limit to what they will build. Not because God cannot stop them, but because he built human beings with extraordinary capacity, made in the image of God, creative, innovative, relentlessly building. When that capacity is unified and directed, it is almost without limit. And that is precisely the problem, because the direction they have chosen is not toward God, it is away from him. Genesis 11:7-8. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad, from there, over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Come, let us go down. The same language God used in creation. Let us make man in our image. The plural voice, Father, Son, and Spirit, moving together. What they used in creation, they are now using in this moment of intervention. And the intervention is swift. No warning, no negotiation, no 7 more days. The language is confused. The communication that made them unstoppable is suddenly broken. And without the ability to coordinate, the building stops. Think about what that moment must have looked like. A man passes a brick to his coworker and says something, and his coworker stares at him blankly. An engineer gives instructions to his team, and no one understands a word. A foreman shouts across the construction site, and the workers look at each other in confusion. In a single moment, the most ambitious construction project in human history grinds to a complete stop. Not because of a storm, not because of a shortage of materials, because the people could no longer understand each other. And then the scattering. The thing they had built the tower to prevent happened anyway. They were scattered over the face of all the earth. God's original command was fulfilled, not through their obedience, through his sovereignty. Genesis 11:9. Therefore, its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there, the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. Babel. The word sounds like the Hebrew word for confused. The city built to make a name got one, but not the name they wanted. They wanted to be remembered for their greatness. They are remembered for their confusion. The name they made for themselves was not the name they planned. It never is. The story of Babel is 11 verses long, one of the shortest major narratives in the entire Bible, but it contains one of the most important truths in all of Scripture. Human beings are builders. We cannot help it. It is in us from the beginning, placed there by a God who is himself a builder. We build cities, empires, reputations, legacies. We build systems and institutions and towers of every kind. And there is nothing wrong with building. The problem at Babel was never the construction. The problem was the foundation. They were building on the wrong thing, not on the name of God, on their own name, not toward their Creator, away from him, not in obedience to the command he had given, in direct resistance to it. And God, in his mercy, disrupted it. Because a tower built on the wrong foundation, no matter how high it reaches, will not stand. And a civilization built for the glory of man, no matter how impressive it looks from the ground, will be scattered. God did not scatter them because he was threatened by their ambition. He scattered them because he loved them too much to let them finish what they were building. Every tower built for the glory of man eventually falls. Every one. The ruins of Babel are a monument to something that is still happening. Still happening in nations, in organizations, in families, in individual lives. The moment a man or a people decides that significance comes from what they build rather than from who made them, they have started construction on their own Babel. And God, who sees it all from a height they cannot imagine, will do what he has always done. He will come down, not always to scatter, sometimes to save, sometimes to redirect, sometimes simply to remind a man who has been stacking bricks for his own glory that the only name worth making is the one he was given. There is a tower in every human heart. The question is what it is built for.